Today's episode is all about procrastination and how we can stop it in its tracks. And I'm actually going to try and keep it short and sweet because I want you to go do the damn thing instead of listening to how we can get started. So, in episode 1, I talked all about the myth of motivation. So, if you haven't listened to that one yet, go take a listen after this one because they do really go hand in hand. Okay, I need to admit something to you. While I am extremely productive at this season in my life, I used to procrastinate all the damn time. And I know for many of us, procrastination can have several different roots. For me, it came mostly from wanting everything to be perfect. So I put off until tomorrow all of the important things that I should have done today. Not out of laziness, but because tomorrow always had this special allure. I felt like somehow tomorrow it would be easier to get insert task here done. Tomorrow I could do it more perfectly. It's like I didn't trust myself today, but I just thought, well, maybe tomorrow will be the day that I can show up as the best version of myself and get this thing done perfectly. And this applied to term papers, to exercise, to eating right, to decluttering my room, you name it. So to avoid those big tasks that I felt like I could somehow do perfectly tomorrow, I filled my days with trivial tasks. Sometimes some of them would be considered productive, but they just weren't the big thing that I would need to do, or time wasters, just wasting the day away. This was before social media, but today's equivalent would be just scrolling through social media because you have something big to do and you just don't feel like you are going to be able to do it as well as you want to. So you just don't do it at all. Well, after this quote unquote tomorrow kept coming and going, and I found myself frantically doing things at the last minute. Hello, writing my 100-page honors thesis in a week. No joke. That was really a low point, especially when half of it got lost as I was trying to save it on a floppy disk before they were actually floppy disks. But I don't know, many of you listening probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, it was a whole thing. We won't relive it. It was traumatizing, but suffice to say, was a low point. But even my 100-page honors thesis, I procrastinated until the week before it was due. So I decided that enough was enough, and I needed to shed myself of this perfectionist mentality and just get things done, because in those moments where I was putting things off, it's not like I was having actual fun, even if I was doing fun things, because I always had the weight of what needed to get done hanging over my head. And that is not a good feeling. But the shame in all of this, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this, is that my output was pretty damn good. So it falsely reinforced this idea in my head that when I do things at the last minute, I do it really well. And I've heard people say this as well. We think because our output of doing things is at the last minute is really good, that is the only way we can produce good work. And the issue for me is I had zero data points to counter that because I had literally never done things in advance, ever. It just was not my MO. So in my mind, when I do things at the last minute, I produce good results. And because of that, it was very, very hard to see things a different way, to accept that there might be a better way to do it. Even though I saw other people doing things in advance and getting good results, I thought, well, that just is not going to happen for me. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't procrastinate only because of perfectionism. I'd like to say that was true, but the truth is, some things I just didn't want to do. Those important, mundane, or difficult tasks that just are not fun. It's not always because I wanted things to be perfect. Sometimes I just didn't want to do it. It was perfectionism and plain old-fashioned dislike of a task. prevented me from getting things done. Well, flash forward to today, and I now lean hard into my do it anyway mantra that I shared in episode 1. I don't wait until I know I can do it perfectly or when I'm in the mood, because I might never be in the mood. And what is perfect anyway? I just do it. Well, you might be saying, that sounds great, but how in the heck do you get yourself to shift out of that mentality? Well, I realized there is a profound truth to the statement that it takes us as long to do something as time we have to do it. It takes us as long to do something as time we have to do it. So I realized that for me, a major piece of disrupting this procrastination cycle was giving myself a timeline, even if it was fabricated, and making myself do it in that timeline. So at work, this looks like using a task management system like Asana. And I will go into more details about Asana in future episodes. But Asana is a system that allows you to assign yourself a task, but also a due date. And I am someone who sticks to my commitments. And so giving myself a due date, even if that's not actually when it's due, I know that I'm going to stick to it. In my personal life, this looks like scheduling tasks into my iCal. I use just the calendar app on my iPhone. Scheduling tasks as if they are actual appointments that need to get done. So if I need to go to the post office, I will schedule it into my calendar as an appointment. My appointments are non-negotiables. I go and I get them done. So giving myself a timeline has been the biggest way that I have disrupted this cycle of procrastination. And the other huge piece of this is to say done is better than perfect. I can always go back after and perfect it later. If I've got all this extra time, I can go back and make it more perfect. But the goal is get it done. And I realize that when I'm trying to get something done, I do give it my best work. It's not only at the last minute, but if I give myself a time frame and I say I have to get it done in this time frame, I am going to bring my best self to it. Is it going to be perfect? Highly unlikely. Is that okay? Absolutely. Done is better than perfect. I have become so much more productive in my life when I've adopted these two frameworks, giving myself a timeline and just getting it done and not obsessing over it being perfect. I realized that I would rather be someone that gets things done in my personal life, in my business, the amount that I have been able to produce and create, and the amount of clients and members I've been able to serve because I've just put things out there before they are perfect. Now I have the data points to show myself that, oh, wait, it actually is so much better to just get things done than try to do them perfectly. And then I celebrate myself for my productivity and I enjoy the rest of my day. The other alluring piece of procrastinating for me before was I felt like I had all this free time because like, oh, look at me. I'm in college. I'm going to parties and I'm not doing my work because I'm going to do them at the last minute. And I would spend way less time doing work. And I realized though that all that fun time could have been way more fun if I had actually gotten the work done first and didn't have it hanging over my head. And that is the way I live now. I get the things done. And then with my free time, and I do have plenty of it now, I actually get to enjoy it because I'm not trying to fill it up with trivial tasks. I don't have things hanging over my head. And I just do it. Now, sometimes when my mind really bullies me, and it still happens more than I would like, and none of these techniques work, I do always have an ace in the hole, which is putting on my AirPods and listening to a romance novel or playing music, because I find that if I literally have something else in my brain, it drowns out the voices telling me you can do it tomorrow, the voices telling me you're not going to do it good enough, whatever it is, whatever loop is in my head, that negative loop. If I physically drown it out with something louder, it snaps me out of it and I get into hyper productive mode. Now, I love romance novels. I always get sucked into the story and I just start doing whatever it is I need to do. For those of you that are like, nope, that's not it, listen to some good music. Now, for me, when I am really diving into a task that needs all of my mental focus, I do need it to be silent in the background. But if I am finding myself in this loop of I just can't get anything done, I will put on music, put on an audiobook, and go get started with something that I'm putting off, the something that doesn't require my highest level of mental focus, because there really is something to momentum. Once you get started being productive, it is so much easier to continue. Getting started really is the hardest part. And then once I'm in that mode of productivity, then I can tackle the task that requires my full focus. And then at that point, I usually will take out the AirPods. So, for those of you who have spent decades living the way that I did, it can feel really scary to try it another way, especially if life has reinforced for you that you're amazing when you do things at the last minute, right? But here's the thing, try it out because you can always go back to the way you were doing it before. That last minute behavior will always be there for you to pick back up. But give yourself the gift of experimenting about what life can feel like when you just don't give in to that anymore and you do it anyway and you disrupt your procrastination. See how much more peace you feel and how much more expansiveness you have in your days. There really is a better way, and I want that for you. So, to recap, if you are getting in this just toxic loop of procrastination, schedule in what you have to do like it is an appointment. Don't wait until you're in the mood. Celebrate progress over perfection always. And put on music or an audiobook. And I put together something fun for you. I put together a Spotify playlist that is my productivity power up playlist. Here's the thing. You're either going to love the music I love or you're going to hate it. There's really no in between. Those of you who are in my age demographic will probably love it. My husband, who's very into music, thinks I have very questionable music taste. He loves me anyway. But so I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to love this playlist or that it is going to be the thing that helps you. But check it out. If you go to gritandglam.com/episode 3, there will be a link to my Spotify playlist in the show notes. Give it a listen. Hopefully it will be the thing to get you in the mood to be productive. But if not, then create your own productivity playlist. All of your favorite songs, those pump up songs that just get you out of that negative mental loop and just flip the switch for you so that you can go and be productive. Give it a try, friends. I am all about experimenting in life, what works for us, what doesn't. But I really can tell you that there is a better way to live than constantly procrastinating. And give this a shot. And let me know how it goes for you. I always love to hear.